sure everybody's out there, but I'm sure some people think, well, that's a lot of money or that's a lot of investment. And you can still, I feel like you could still get into the same adventure without having to put yourself in a position where you're feeling committed to a full year of sponsorships and really digging for money and doing things like that, where this is fun. It is an exhibition, but it's fun.
Right.
You get to go out and enjoy the ripping around on a track at speed ish, right? But not
pretty quick.
Yeah, but not really feel like you're like, okay, I can't mess up this motor this week because I have to be able to get the next feature.
Right.
I can't, I've got a whole nother track that I've got to get to, that kind of thing. So that's one of the big appeals for me. And I think the community in car that's even better to me is a group of men and women who have been around this industry for a long time, who are willing and very much want to share all of that information.
Yeah.
And so that's been a lot of fun too.
Right. Of the cars that are out there, what is like you have more super modifieds? Do you have more sprint cars? What's kind of the heavy concentration of the cars that are left?
I think it's the super modifieds and sprint cars. I think mostly super modifieds are the biggest amount that we have now, but we have all different kinds of cars that the rusty rail dates back in the 40s. It's an old flathead car, home built car. And then we've got
is that the white number 32?
The white number
34, and it's all rusted.
Yeah.
Okay.
All rusted. And it goes very, very slowly.
Okay.
Todd Kroll has an old sprint car with a Model A engine in it. Okay. It's a reproduction, but it's a beautiful car. Well done. Roger Burnett has the old 81 car from Newton, Kansas. It belonged to Earl Mills, and he bought that and rebuilt it all, and it looks fantastic. It's probably a car from after World War II, from the late 40s, early 50s, and Roger has a GMC truck motor in it now. And it had that at one time, but it's had a Hudson motor in it. Was as fast as it went, but it's had several different motors.
Yeah. I think it was last year during an exhibition race.
Right.
Excuse me. Words are hard. It's been a super long week. But so I don't remember. It was a red car. But got down into an implement tire and kind of
99. Yeah,
I think it got upside down and how's that car looking? It would get it rebuilt. Is it going to be back out?
Yeah, that's Larry caught him out of Salina, and that was a track champion here in 1965.
Okay.
81 Speedway. It's a good car. It's one of our faster, better drivers. Larry caught him, but he had it put back together and didn't hurt it very bad. But he had it that summer back on the track. I think it was the next race.
I think Todd Kroll was in.
Todd Kroll is real instrumental in helping everybody. He's a good car builder, one of the best car builders.
Yeah. I always wonder what, how some of the cars get around pretty good and some people are just kind of putting. So I'm never sure, like, I don't want to do something to that car because you'll never get parts for it again. Or like you said, with the Model A engine, of course, it's not going to set any land speed records by any means. So I always kind of wondered that because by the time I get done doing what I'm doing down on the infield, most of you guys have loaded up and went home for the night. So I'm in that like bad spot because I got a bunch of stuff they want me to get done before we start racing.
Right.
And then once I'm down in the infield, I'm pretty much locked in. So I always want to go kind of just walk around and look, but I just never, I guess I just need to call in sick one day and
there you go.
Get into the pits without anybody knowing I'm here so I can check out what's going on. So how is your family into street rods or you got an uncle maybe raced? Nothing, just zero. Nothing.
No, my story was I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and the state fairgrounds in Arizona had one of the best dirt tracks there, and demolition derby or whatever that was going on during the day that my mom would let me watch over the fence. That was what I was allowed to do. But yeah, no, it was driving cars fast in the city.
Yeah.
Was my driving
that
fast.
Was it? Yeah.
I never really got into it and always wanted to. I mean, I always had that goofy, I was telling these guys, being a kid, loved, Dukes of Hazzard or Cannonball Run movie or Smoking the Bandit, things like that. But it was all road. I never knew anything about dirt track racing. I didn't know anything about it. And I joined the Air Force in 2000. I was down in Oklahoma City with a buddy that he and his dad raced IMCA modifieds and pro stocks. And I'd just go out and pit. I didn't pit, I hung out in the pit.
So if you're down in Oklahoma City, are you at the half mile at the fairgrounds?
They would go out east.
Okay.
And sometimes south. I couldn't even tell you. Don't even ask. I don't know what the tracks were, but we were the outsiders. We were like big city kids.
Okay.
and it was always like pack up. If he won, if Harlan's dad, shout out by the way to Harlan Sale and Jay Sale down in Oklahoma City, because those guys really kind of originally gave me the bite, right?
Okay.
Like they were the ones that were really like, you should do this. It'd be a lot of fun. At the time, I was like, nah, I don't know if I could do this. I should have it. I really should have. It would have been a lot of fun, but. It wasn't until Fred and honestly, even like the Leaps, I've gotten to know a lot of really amazing people in this community, and every single one of them is like, yes, go do it. Yeah. You'll enjoy it. Yeah. And that's been the best part about
everyone helps each other out.
Yeah.
If something happens to your car, we're all at Norton, Kansas, where there's nothing, and usually everyone can exchange parts. And in fact, when we go out to Norton, we have another club that joins us from
CVOR from Colorado.
And we have a lot more midgets that end up showing up out of that group. And then we also have Sam and Randy Johnson down in Oklahoma that we team up with them and go try to support their clubs, the OVR and the RRVO. They have a race coming up March 30th in Meeker.
Sam Sager?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam Sager. Yeah, he's good family racer. He's got 3 or 4 cars. He's a good supporter.
And even though we are Kansas antique racers, we've got people that are with us from Iowa and Illinois and Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, all over. And it's just, it's $25 for your dues for a year, and you have a little set of guidelines and we all get together and have a great time.
Because I have, you talked about safety. I have noticed some of the cars have like the original seats in them, and then you get some cars that they got a containment seat, So is there a decision or a guideline on, on the, so like you got to have new belts, fire suit, of course, here at 81 or Humboldt, we're not going to let anybody get on the track if you don't have good safety stuff. But as far as the antique racers stuff goes, how does someone make that decision to, not go with the original seat or, put a containment seat in? How does that kind of happen?
Original seats, a lot of our cars were just old 5-gallon cans cut out, made into a seat. But my car had something similar to that, made out of aluminum, but it was a wraparound on the left side. But Gary Lee Meyer came along, who was a famous, good professional race car driver. He said, "Fred, you need a better seat. Here, I'm going to give you my old seat from last year." So he gave me a nice, is it a Kirkby seat? Is that how you say it? Kirky seat. Yeah, and it's a double wraparound. It's a nice seat. And it's high, and it protects me pretty good. But that's how we do it. In other words, and a lot of guys will have the Hans device. Like when Rick England drives my car, he puts on his Hans device. Oh, yeah. Rick England's a good friend, and he's a World of Outdraw driver. He builds a car a year for him or somebody. Yeah. He just restored the old 99 Jelly car for Bill Johnson. Oh, okay. Evans Building Products is the actual owner.
Yeah, but we see Bill. He was part of our Hall of Fame committee here. He's gonna move on and do some other stuff. But yeah, we got to see Bill quite a bit. What about the cars you have? You guys stay with the period era correct seat, or you had kind of upgraded?
I let Mr. Lee decide all of those decisions, and then I get in the car and I drive. I'm not the wife that is out in the shop. I'm the princess that gets to go drive.
Show up with the helmet. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we got a few of them that run around on the USRA modifieds. They show up with the helmet and get it on. That's you.
I'm telling you. We got other
You're-
things to do.
Oh
Back
yeah.
in-
I'm Colt Trickle all the way. I don't know anything about racing cars.
Harley with your duffel
Oh,
bag and
rolling
stuff.
up, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just here to race, boys.
Back in the old days when the super modifieds and jalopies, the guys wore their blue jeans, white tennis
Yep.
shoes, a white T-shirt with their cigarettes rolled up in the,
Yeah.
and they had maybe an open face helmet and goggles. Now Roger Burnett, when Roger out of Dodge City races his older cars, he still races with an open face helmet, a red bandana around his neck, and
Yeah.
goggles. He just races period correct.
Yeah.
And his seat belt is just one belt, one wraparound belt.
Oh.
Like he's got a name for it. I can't remember. A brown belt, maybe.
Okay.
It's a special seat belt.
He'll be screaming at the video when he sees this.
Yeah.
Come
I-
on, Fred.
Not supposed to let that out. I was listening. I listened to the Dell Jr. download. I always like to listen to the guest segments when he talks about. He was talking. I can't remember his guest last week. I can't remember who he was talking about, but he was saying like when that guy retired, the person he was talking to was on the crew, so that driver gave him his fire suit, and then so Dale Jr. said, "Well, did it have the pocket for the cigarettes and the lighter?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I had all that in there." So and you see some of those. You go down to Tyrod Tavern and you look at some of the pictures, and they're there in Victory Lane. Got one lit up. They're ready to go, and they're wearing their blue jeans and white T-shirt and shoes. That wasn't uncommon
Right.
back in the day.
And women weren't in the pits back in the day.
Yeah, women were not in the pits back in the day. I remember when I was a kid and my uncle would race, and I'd sit up in the stands with my grandma and wait for the crossover gate to open at the end of the night and run over there. And yeah, it's a way different world these days than when from the cars that you guys have.
Mhm.
You're going to drive Fred's car.
That's right.
Plans to build a car? Are you?
Oh
you
yeah.
know, what are you going to do with
Fred's-
your own car?
Yeah, he's
or-
looking at me right now because he knows. He keeps you talk about Facebook Marketplace. It's constantly hey, look at this car. I don't know. Yeah, probably. I think that's definite. Yes, that's definitely in the future. I'm gonna be doing something, whether it's building a car or buying a car. I think I kind of like the idea of the nostalgia and finding a car that has a story.
Yeah.
I really do. Like you mentioned, I think is it Duel that drove his car up Pikes Peak.
Yes.
Yeah, Larry Dougal.
That like a story like that.
That's cool.
Like, oh man, it would be really cool to find one of these guys here in town, or not in town, but in the state or in the area that has held a car for a long time. And that's another thing that I would really recommend anybody who wants to get into this, get into car now, because you've got all of the, not just the people, but you also have their machines, right? So a lot of the people who are still in this car club may not necessarily be comfortable to be out driving,
Right.
for one. And eventually they're going to get to the place where they're going to say, I should probably just lighten up what I've got sitting out behind the shop. So let's get rid of a car or two. So you could really kind of capitalize on not only the person who built and drove the car, but also the stories and be able to have that car. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I'm at.
For you, or are we gonna build more? How much more garage space do
my
we have for?
gosh. Trying to get 4
Oh.
cars to a track now.
And Garth has the ability to build one car a year. He's
Yeah.
a car builder. He gets more done than about anybody.
Yeah.
And Rick England gets a lot done.
Yeah.
Roger Burnett gets a lot done, but Garth is one of the best builders.
Well, you just got to get you a toter and a stacker. You can just get all 4
I'm
of them
telling
there
you,
at
I'm all
once.
about that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The
Yeah.
roll, the rolling. Yeah,
Garth is out there.
She keeps
Yeah.
she keeps looking. Her
He
husband's out
knows.
in the.
He's listening.
He said he wasn't going to join us. He's out there listening and seeing what's going on. You talked about the clubs that you guys are, kind of surrounding states across the country. Just a round number. How many clubs are there out there of antique?
Gosh.
There's a ton. Lots?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of clubs.
We even like one year we went to Belleville, and there was a guy that Jerry Foreman and his wife Marcia, they came from Las Vegas, Nevada, I believe. There was another gentleman, I'm losing his name right now, but he was from Montana or Wisconsin, and they come
coming to Canada,
from
yeah.
all over
Mhm.
because like Belleville is one of their bucket
Right.
list tracks.
Uh-huh.
So it is really cool. And I mean, somehow they all find out when we go, so
Yeah.
it's out there. I
Well,
mean, I have
especially
people
with
contacting-
the internet now, it's
Right.
easy to find, stuff that's
I had a
going on.
gentleman call me from or contact me through Facebook from Australia.
Oh wow.
And they have tons of vintage race car clubs over there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's all over.
So, you kind of said like your concentration of cars that are left are super modifieds, here is that the same across the country, or is it a regional, like is there more stock cars when you get towards the Carolinas, or more midgets in the Northeast?
I feel like I've seen, we don't do stock cars in our club now,
Right.
but I do feel like I've seen a lot more farther away,
Mhm.
and they seem like bigger cars, like the Australian guy.
Okay.
They have, I mean, but it's really super cool to see all the.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's kind of one of those things that same thing with this show. If I don't get some of the old time racers on here, then I lose those stories.
Right.
Unfortunate that I don't have both of my grandpas around anymore. I've lost both of those now, but those both were the ones I would come to the track with.
Right.
So you don't know what you have until it's gone, right?
Right.
So I didn't ever was ever able to capture all of those racing stories before I lost both of them. So that's kind of my mission with this show, is to get all of the racing stories captured, and I record them and I save them, and they live on YouTube forever, and they're here for our fans, for 81 Speedway and Humboldt Speedway, just to have we have the go-kart track here. Our great friends, Tyler Davis and Emily Davis, they're gonna kind of get the young kids in the go-karts, and so they can race at the little track on Sunday, and then they'll move up and they'll race at the big track on Saturday, or maybe they can go over to Humboldt on Friday. But if I don't get the stories, that no one's ever going to hear them. So that's one big thing I love about why I wanted to talk to you, was to get the old school racing stories, because unfortunately we can't have you guys here every weekend at the track, as much as I'd love to,
Wouldn't you though?
and hear all the stories. We get to hear them a couple times a year, and if we don't get all the stories now, then they'll be gone forever. So it's always good to
Stories from the track.
from the track.
That's the book you should write.
That's the book. I'm not writing any book. But
Emily's a writer. She could write a book.
No.
You want to volunteer to write the book?
No.
You volunteered for the newsletter.
I
You want to
know. I
volunteer
got to
for the
keep my
book?
hand down.
I had a good friend of mine that was been my partner for 20 years, but Max Estes, he lives down in Dallas, Texas area now, but he was always going to write a book called Stories from the Track.
Yeah.
And he was saving up all those stories from Western Kansas and Dodge City. And we've been up to Knoxville, Iowa several times. And we'd go to Knoxville and we'd have over 100 cars show up, vintage cars show up. It'd be a vintage only show. We'd race there Friday night. We'd go to Oskaloosa, Iowa, race Thursday night, and to Knoxville on Friday night. And like I say, we're not racing, we're exhibition guys.
Yeah.
Anyway,
getting around there.
He was always going to write a book, and he might still do that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have them out there, because I got 4 kids, and I like to bring them to the racetrack and show them stuff. But I got to get I didn't race, so I don't have stories for them. I got to get stories from
You too can be a part of KAR.
Yeah.
There you go.
You're eligible.
Yeah.
We got cars for sale.
Yeah.
They're all over the place.
I don't know. I've got a massive offload going of stuff, because I'm trying to buy a new house. So I don't think I need to come home dragging something home. I'd
Right.
probably get in trouble. Like when someone is they're done. They don't want to race anymore. Is there kind of a committee thing when someone goes to sell a car? Does everyone gotta ask the group if it's okay that someone else buys
That's
this
a good
car?
question.
How does
Yeah.
that
I'd
go?
like to know that.
We
Not really. But
We haven't heard of that yet.
Not
okay.
really, but I will say that we had lost Randy Conrad, that was driving the Rusty Rail, and his family basically had to sell the car, and fortunately, it stayed within the club.
Okay,
Someone from the club did buy it, and
it's like a
drives
first
it.
right of refusal type thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we do like to keep our cars here in
Yeah,
Kansas,
That's
but
true.
sometimes they go to Oklahoma, and you never know. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's up to the family.
It does seem like it's a pretty easy going group.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the best. It's the best part of a family. I don't
Mhm.
think I've seen anything negative come out of that group.
Mhm.
Aside from whatever silly squabble might be something that somebody could squash immediately.
Which
Like,
happens.
everybody. Yeah, exactly. These are all gentlemen and ladies who have been around for a long time, and they don't feel like continuing to mess with each other. This is fun for them. They enjoy it. They really enjoy it. Yeah.
Now, is there a group of people that are kind of scouring all the backyards in the countryside looking for frames? Because every once in a while, I have tons of racing friends on my Facebook, so every once in a while I'll see somebody pull a frame out of a weeds and take some pictures and go, okay, we need to identify this thing. What is this? Is there someone that's just kind of scouring all the time looking for stuff?
We all scour. We all look for each other. Yeah, and Paul Martin's is down in Oklahoma. He's got a big machine shop, and he's got lots and lots of parts. He buys up everything.
Buys it all.
Yeah, and
If
Alan
he doesn't
Herbert,
buy it, then Sam Sager buys it.
Sam Sager does. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, Tom Reed buys it here in Kansas.
Mhm.
And he catalogs it.
Oh yeah, this is like the whole big network of guys. If one passes, they immediately are texting or calling the other guys and letting them know, hey, there's something you need to know about down in Oklahoma City. Go get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with the internet nowadays,
Mhm.
I mean, it's so helpful for
Right.
like that. If someone digs up something, they're able to ask, and usually there's an answer somewhere.
Yeah.
And I know that Fred has mentioned Roger Burnett several times. Roger and Ray Cunningham up in Kansas City area, I believe,
Mhm.
they are like walking historians. I mean,
Okay.
they can look at things and just know. In fact, those two people would be great to
Yeah.
bring to the show.
Yeah,
No problem.
absolutely.
But yes,
I do know back in the day because of course we've had we're very blessed to have GM John Allen here, and we refer to him as GM John Allen, but I've had him on the show as Racing John Allen, right? So I've heard a lot of stories, and
Mhm.
I actually spent a summer really like working for him and pitting for him, so I've heard a lot of stuff. But you guys have history on some of these cars, but back in the day, someone just would build one in their garage, and that happened a lot more than it does now. So how do you kind of trace the history on some of those cars that don't have serial numbers, that you really don't know where they come from? Because everything's a copy of something, right? Someone
Mhm.
built one, someone
Mhm.
copied it, and they changed a little bit because everyone got a better idea. So when you get a car and it has no serial numbers, and you're looking at it, well, this bar is not quite right, that bar is not quite right. How do you, is there a process you go through to try to validate a car and where it came from? Or
We all just work together, and if you got a part that you don't know what it is or where it came from, you label it with something that you think's right, and then someone will come up and correct you and say, "Oh no, this is where it came from, and this is what it is." So my best trick is just to label it. I know it's wrong, but
Yeah.
somebody's going to correct me.
Okay.
So
You
that's
research through pictures,
Yeah.
and online.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's kind of what's probably one of the most valuable cars that is in your guys' group, or in a group that kind of like a legendary car? This car won hundreds of races.
The Offie Killer.
Offie Killer.
Yeah, the Offie Killer was the car built by Chet Wilson back in the early 50s, and it was originally a stretch midget, but he built a new frame, but it's always called because it was the first car that could beat the Offenhauser engines.
Okay.
He built it in 1956. Got a small block Chevy out of a 56 that was had a bad rod or something, and the Chevrolet garage took it out and threw it over to the side. Chet went over and took it and rebuilt it and made the Offie Killer out of it.
Okay.
So that's probably in my imagination, that's probably one of the most valuable cars in the history.
Who has that car?
The Jerry Wilson family. Jerry Wilson.
Okay, so it's here in Wichita.
It's still here in Wichita. It's they're redoing it, going through a lot of restoration, but it's been kind of apart for 4 or 5 years, and it's supposed to go up to Speedy Bill's museum in Omaha, Nebraska. And Jerry Wilson's sister lives up there. In fact, the Wilson family is from the Omaha area.
Okay.
Or anyway, that's what I think is the most valuable. What do you think?
I would agree.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was
So once that car gets done with restoration, it's probably never going to see a track again. It's going to go on display for at
you don't
at
you don't know the
Speedway, or-
Wilson family.
Mm.
Jerry
well,
Wilson.
a little bit. I know him a little bit, but
No, it's they say it'll never go back on the track again.
yeah.
So it's perfect, nice car.
I think we've seen it here. Been probably a few years ago,
Probably been-
but I remember,
Yeah.
you know, somebody talking about it over the PA, whether they were just talking about it or it was on the track. I can't picture it in my mind, but so that's probably the most,
Yeah.
you know, the one that's still in existence and
Right.
is probably
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a car that someone's looking for that's, you know, like that one exists, people can put eyes on it, but is there another car that's, you know, someone's still looking for? Is there another kind of golden egg out there that's, we know, not
I feel
sure
like
if
a lot
it
of
still
people are
exists
looking
or
for
not?
100-inch cars.
Yeah,
right
the
now.
100-inch cars are popular now. We had the Jimmy Hartness car was one everybody looked for a long time, and they finally found it up in Colorado. Roger Burnett rebuilt that, and can't think of the guy's name. It was the money guy behind it. Then later on, they wrecked it. Davy Ross wrecked it down in Liberal, and it was a very valuable car. And then the guy that owned it was collected all the parts to put it back together. Then he kind of lost interest in it. So Max Estes and I bought it about 20 years ago, finished it, putting it back together. Lonnie Snowden's did all the hard work. He welded the chassis back together, and then we built a new body for it and painted it up real nice. And it was a real valuable car, a car that everybody looked for. It was
Yeah.
Jimmy Hartness was a driver out of Ness City, Kansas, and he was one of the better drivers. He came down here to Wichita in the winter times. He'd find a part-time job, and then he'd go work for Nance or worked out at Jelly's, and worked on his car, built his car in his spare time. But he always worked as a bartender in a bar or something.
Yeah.
And anyway, there's a lot of Jimmy Hartness stories.
Yeah, okay. So the car, is it 97? Is that the yellow car?
That's my car, number 97.
So is that the only car you've had, or you've had several cars over the years?
I've had several cars, but that's my first car I bought, and I still got it. So I've had it. I've sold it twice, and I bought it back twice because I missed it.
Yeah.
I sold it at Thanksgiving time one time, and by Christmas I was buying it back.
Yeah.
But I've had part ownership in several other cars.
Okay.
Roger Burnett and I have been partners on a couple of cars. Max Estes and I was partners on the Hartness car, and then partners on Max's car for a while.
So, you know, or when you find these other cars, or are you're restoring them to get them back out there, but is it the intention to move them to someone else to drive, or you're thinking, oh, okay, I'll keep this one, maybe just kind of rotate the cars and then not have enough storage space, or you need a storage space over at the Leaps, or?
Yeah, the Leaps have a great big garage. He's got several projects.
I think we go back to that statement. He's not a hoarder. So yeah, it's just
Collector,
cool stuff,
yeah.
you know? Like,
Yeah. Leaps have one of the nicest, biggest shops, but
Oh my goodness.
they don't have a bathroom in it or a kitchen yet.
Oh man.
So I've-
Oh, that's why you don't. Yeah, there's no bathroom out there. You gotta.
Right,
Yeah, you can't
right.
be out there.
My
Right.
shop's got a bathroom in it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very, very important. You don't want to walk back and forth or nothing like that. Yeah.
Yeah. They always say a real man has a bigger garage and shop than he does house.
Yeah.
And I finally exceeded that.
Finally got there.
I got that done, in the last year.
There you go. There you go. You know, so kind of looking forward for this year, you know, how many races do you think that you're gonna make this year?
I might actually make more races than Fred makes this year, just because I think he's got a big fancy trip coming up this summer. So I think he and his brother-in-law and I might be taking the car. Maybe, I don't know. It depends on, you know.
Yeah, you're gonna. My car's gonna be at 81 Speedway.
81, but also Dodge, I think, right? Maybe. Even
Yeah,
if you're
maybe
gone.
Dodge. Yeah.
Yeah. So probably 8. Was it like 8 races? I think
We
this
got
year.
8 races, but Gibb's still scheduling the races.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Gibb yet, but Gibb's kind of our leader.
Okay.
He doesn't want to be called president, but he
Oh.
says he helps the Kansas Antique Racers, kind of manages, lines up all the races, and does a lot of work. But he says that takes care of my racing itch that I had when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm involved with the Kansas Antique Racers.
Okay. So that's so if anybody wants to schedule an antique or we need to
Yeah.
get a hold of him.
Yeah, get a hold of any one of us, but get a hold. Gibbs our regular scheduler.
Okay. For the Leap Racing stable,
Mhm.
how many you're gonna hit all of the Kansas races, of course, or do you guys
Yeah,
go
we
down to Oklahoma or any or
We do try. I don't know if we're going to make it down on the 30th of March, but yeah, we try to hit all of them, and we may not be able to make it all the way out to Colby, but there's a lot of Western Kansas antique cars out that way
Okay.
too. So we're hoping that they'll go support that race.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and Gibbs still scheduling racing. It's hard to fit our schedule in with the different track schedules.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Gibb has to do wonders to.
We would never miss a Norton race, and we would never miss a Belleville race.
Belleville
because
race.
it's vintage only and it's a complete
Mhm.
weekend.
Yeah.
So that's a really fun time.
Now, in your group, has someone rebuilt a car and just refused to race it, and so you gotta go over their shop and give them a hard time? Has someone got a car just that they just restored and don't want to race? Is there anything like that in your group?
Not that I know of. The '99 car of Jelly, I don't think it'll hit the track very many times, but it was here in Wichita and maybe Hutchinson. And who drove it here in Wichita? There was a who's the guy that has United Engines? He was an old racer,
Yeah.
older guy. Yeah.
My bet would be everyone that I've met so far anyway in car would say my car is in the state of getting ready to race. Like
Yeah.
it's never, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say they have a car that's just sitting that they don't want to race or that they wouldn't race. They might not feel like it, but they generally have cars that are always in a state of kind of ready. They just might need to do a little work to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, Paul Martin has a really nice car that
Yeah.
he doesn't race.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
he's-
Paul Martin's had
He's
several
brought it
really
to Dodge
nice cars.
City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's,
Mhm.
I can't
And
remember.
he just
It's
rode it around the pits. I mean, some of them are,
Yeah.
high dollar show
Mhm.
cars. So, yeah, but I think that's the only one I
it's got an
remember.
Offie engine in it, doesn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
yeah.
he's a pretty car. Yeah, Paul Martin's has a machine shop down in Oklahoma, and he's a good friend of everybody's. He's got lots of parts, but he builds some really, really nice cars.
But he has one of the
Yeah,
Offie motors.
Offie. Yeah,
So on that car, you talked about it being dominant. How many of those Offie cars are still around?
there's several, but not in our group.
Mm-mm.
That's the only one in our group that we know of.
That you know of? Well, we're about an hour and 30 minutes in. Anything? Any other notes you got?
I'd like to mention some guys that
Yeah.
I've kind of been my mentors through the years, but Tom Barkley was the guy that really founded Kansas Antique Racers. Roger Burnett's a good mentor of mine for a long time. Dick German, Rex Broker, I've mentioned those guys. They kind of founded the club. There's another guy, but I couldn't remember his name. The Leap family, Harold Leap. I've met him several times. Bryson Mills, the Mills family. His dad, Earl Mills, had the racetrack at Newton, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
He also had a salvage yard. So the
Okay.
Mills boys grew up in the salvage yard, and Bryson was a good driver, and Billy was a good car builder, and they had a good team going. So, and Bryson helped us a lot. Was you around Bryson when he? Bryson was kind of an unsung leader. Anyway, he helped us a lot. He was a lawyer. He wrote up all of our legal documents, and
Oh, okay.
or we all have to sign a release when we come
Yeah.
in the racetrack, and we all have Kansas Antique Racers have a self inspection, so we inspect our own cars. We have to check them all out. We have to turn them all in every year to make sure everybody knows we've inspected the cars and they're all safe, meet all of our regulations. Like I said, Alan Herbert and his family helped me a lot. They're great, and that's like a big family. The only mistake the Alan Herbert family made was their wife wasn't so much into racing, and she actually put in white carpet in her kitchen and her dining room and living room, and we all got in trouble when we walked in there with our greasy shoes. So other than that, she was a perfect
I can
race
imagine.
lady. Yeah,
I can imagine she was not happy.
yeah, yeah. Her name was Noreen, but the two boys, Alan Jr. and Brian, excellent car builders. They helped me a lot. Their dad helped me a lot. They just kind of took me in as part of the family for the last 10 years or so, 15 years, 20 years, yeah. Dwayne Wolf, we haven't talked about Dwayne Wolf, but he was, for 3 or 4 years, he kind of managed our group, did a good job, and he's
Okay.
an excellent car builder, good driver. He's an old pipe fitter, welder, pipe fitter. Did a lot of welding on the missile sites. Come out of the pipe fitters union here in Wichita.
Okay.
And Gib Lane, he's our leader. He's a Simulate driver. He was a driver back in the 50s and 60s. Larry Hall, he was another nice car builder. He built 7 or 8 complete cars that still work in our club right now. He built a lot for Bryson Mills. Tom Barkley, he built a car for Tom Barkley.
Is that so? Larry Hall, is that out of the collection of cars? Is that like is that who built most of them?
Around here in Wichita, Larry Hall probably built or helped on almost all the cars around here, one
Okay.
time or another. Roy Pulver. You ever hear Roy Pulver?
No, it doesn't sound familiar.
He was
to
an
me.
old car builder back in the 50s, and he had always had one of the better cars. And Harold Lee drove for Roy for quite a while. And he said about, when the old days, and even nowadays, when you win the race, the owner gets half the money and the driver gets half the money. It's a 50-50 deal.
Mhm.
Or depends on the driver, depends on the owner. But one day, Harold came down to Roy Pulver and said, Roy, I think I'm good enough. I think I need 60% now instead of 50%. So Roy Pulver said, no, I can't pay you that much. Can't do that. Well, the next Saturday night, Harold's driving another car, and Roy Pulver car is following this other car. So he says, I'd a lot rather pay that old Swede. He called him the old Swede. No, they Swedish that leaps. He called him the old
Not that I'm
Swede.
aware.
We got a answer question
Yeah.
going on here.
Anyway, Roy Pulver says, I'd a lot rather pay that old Swede 60% and be up there in front instead of following him and just paying him 50%. He called him the old Swede. So he lost his good driver that week.
Yeah.
C. Ray Hall
Yep.
was a good promoter, and his dad, is it Bill Hall?
Mhm.
His dad was one of the best. Yeah, we always liked coming to 81 Speedway, liked to see Ray Hall.
Yeah.
And the family, the 81 Speedway family.
Yep.
Another guy, a good friend of mine, is Ken Tatro out of Beloit. He's a good car builder, a good friend, and he helps, and he's kind of backed off of driving so much, but he's still buying and fixing up, selling old cars that are well worth the money. He's
Yeah.
a good car builder. And Harold Leap, he's an old survivor, track champion. He has a lot of track. How many championships has Harold won?
Oh man, you are on the
100?
spot right now. You
100?
you are supposed to know all this
I
stuff.
know,
Like we
right?
can't go ask Garth
I
all this stuff.
know.
He's supposed to let you know.
No, he wouldn't be able to answer this either, I don't think. But a lot. There was a lot. But I will say one thing about the cars that Harold did drive that everybody always asks about, like because the black 99 and the yellow 99 that we have, there's a dollar bill under the plastic piece on the dash, and everyone
Oh.
always asks about that dollar bill. And so Harold always said that he put that there because he was always chasing the money.
Oh, okay.
That was his motivation.
Another guy that's been a good friend to help me a lot was Gary Lee Meyer.
Yeah.
And Gary Lee has won lots and lots of races.
Oh man.
He's helped me the last 30 years. And he's one that gave me my seat.
Mhm.
When he'd come to the racetrack, he'd come with the car, but he'd have sponsorship from Simpson
Mhm.
helmets and Weld Wheel and Hoosier race tires. He'd have a lot of sponsorships with him. So, and he made a lot of money racing. He made a living racing
Yeah.
for several years.
Oh yeah.
But he's helped me a lot over the years. Good friend of mine. Shane Carson. We talked a little bit
Yep.
about Shane Carson, but
Friend of the Above the Cushion show. Yep.
yeah. Shane was a World of Outlaw driver for a
Mhm.
while, He's also managed the World of Outlaws. Isn't
Yep.
that right?
Mhm.
But
Race director.
I got to meet him last year
yeah, Shane.
down
Yeah,
in Oklahoma,
yeah,
at
Tulsa,
Meeker,
Missouri.
the oh gosh, I don't remember what the track's called.
Red Dirt Raceway.
Yes, Red Dirt Raceway. And normally what we do in KAR is Gib will divide us up into like a slower class and a faster class.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Or he knows our abilities of
Mhm.
driving.
Closed or open some of the open cars that just have a roll bar, not a full rush cage, or the wild wheel cars. He has a way to do it.
Right. So we get down to Oklahoma, and like I like to be first because that's the only time I am first. I let everyone go around me. But anyway, I'm coming around turn 1 and 2, and here Shane Carson comes around me sideways and scared me to death. So I'm like, why am I out here with Shane Carson?
Was Shane Carson driving a vintage car, or what was he driving?
Yeah, he was driving. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shane's a good friend of ours. He
Yeah.
supports us a lot.
Yeah, he's in. I think I told you he invited Jeremy and I down for their little. I think it's on Monday nights. They have a little round table talk, and Jeremy and I have been talking about it, but just haven't quite got down there yet. We'll have to make that happen here pretty quick.
I'd like to mention some of our sponsors. We have a banquet every year in February, but I get a bunch of sponsors together, and some of them just like Evans Building, Bill Johnson, writes us a big fat check. BG Products. BG Products. They have a real good company that builds a lot of good products and things, and they gave us a lot of products to auction off. That's how we make some of our money. Waltz Bar and Grill here in Wichita. They're at Rock Central, but he'll give us several gift certificates to auction off.
Good.
And everybody knows Waltz. I mean, everybody, they sell for top dollar. Speedway Motors, they've helped us a lot through the years. When Speedy Bill was alive, he did a lot more for us now than after his boys and grandkids have taken over.
Yeah.
But Speedway Motors helped us a lot through the years. O'Reilly's a guy there in Andover. Levi's the manager, and he's helped us a lot. He'll give us several $100s worth of O'Reilly's products to auction off. Mel Hamilton Ford, Dick Ballman.
Yep.
He's helped us for several years.
That's my best buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dick Ballman. Yeah. He back when he had Smileys, he helped us in.
Yeah.
But he'll always gives us racing jugs, and nobody can run out of racing jugs for carrying their race fuel.
Yeah.
So he always has maybe 20 of those, and they'll sell for $50 a piece or more. They'll get
auction them off.
Yeah. Auctions them off. Mel Hamlet Ford, Nick Ballman, he's a good guy. AutoZone gives us some parts here in town. Bumper to Bumper out of Newton, they give us a bunch of stuff to give away, sell, auction off. Ferguson Plumbing Wholesale, they always gives us tools and gloves and extension cords and drop lights. And 81 Speedway, John Allen will give us some tickets.
Yeah.
Give us tickets to raffle off in their auction.
Those tickets are valuable. It's good shows there at that racetrack.
I've heard about that. Yeah. Especially the nights that the KAR shows up.
That's absolutely
Right?
Kansas Antique Racing.
Stars of the show.
Highlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
The old Parker Oil Company, Jim Slinky,
Yep.
always would give us several cases of good racing oil.
Got all that Penske oil and
Yeah,
stuff down there.
yeah. And then they've been bought out now by Rollerdine. Am I saying that right?
I believe so.
Rollerdine. They're out of Kansas City. The Napa stores in Great Bend, Richard Ward, he's one of our members. He's got a car, but it hasn't showed up since he bought it. He bought it about 5 years ago.
Oh,
It was Max Estes' old car. So, but he always helps. He gets some stuff to us. DCRP, the Dodge City Racetrack.
Yep.
Kent Lampy, he would always give us some stuff or help us, and he helps the tracks out quite a bit.
Yep. Great group down there.
Yeah,
Dodge
great
City.
group in Dodge City. Yeah. But Kent Lampy, they used to have B&M Speed Shop, Brad Maxwell.
Yep. I remember Brad.
Yeah, Brad was, and Brad would sponsor us too, but he's kind of closed his shop down. And
Oh, did he? Okay.
But Kent's still selling Hoosier tires. He's got the Hoosier tire dealership for part of western Kansas.
Okay.
He buys them all through Mill Hamilton Ford.
Yep. Mhm.
Yep. So that's about it as far as our banquet. We have a banquet every year in February, and everybody's invited.
Yeah.
So it's always the last weekend in February, last Saturday, February. You can be a member. All you got to do is pay us $25, and
Yeah.
you'd be getting Emily's newsletter.
Get the newsletter.
That's worth more than $25.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
I bet it is.
But always, you can contact me if you want to donate some money. Call me, Fred Stewart, 620-430-0582,
There it is.
or Gib, or Emily.
Yeah. Before we let you go, last question. Who is the group historian? Who is the one you turn to first?
Roger Burnett.
I was going to say that, and I
Yeah.
wasn't even 100% sure, but I was pretty sure that was it.
Dodge City and Roger Burnett are putting together a museum there at the racetrack,
Okay.
and they've had it there in the county museum for about a year and a half. But now they've moved on and putting farm machinery and stuff in there. But they're going to build a museum out at the racetrack. He's always got a lot of money pledged to him. Now he's getting old enough that he thinks he can't do it for very long, but all he has to do is get it started and then pass it on to somebody like his grandkids. He's got some grandkids that are really involved in racing. But
Good.
Roger's putting together a museum in Dodge City, kind of around Jack Merrick and the old race cars.
Yeah.
He had 30-some race cars in there a couple of years ago in the
Oh,
old
wow.
Gamble's building downtown that the Fair Board bought
Yeah.
for their museum. So
Okay.
it's right close to Boot Hill.
Okay. Yeah, I got my grandma lives in a town called Protection, Kansas.
Yeah, I know where Protection is.
You know where that's where my grandpa and grandma moved to when they retired. And of course, my grandpa's passed away now, but my grandma's still down there. When I would go down there for the summer, it was about an hour east of Dodge City. So me and my grandpa would jump in the truck and we'd go over to Dodge City Raceway Park. And we went over there when it was asphalt a couple times. Of course, you know, our loves for the dirt. So yeah, that's a good track down there. Great pits.
Great pits.
Great pits.
Gosh, you can't believe how much money we
pits.
spent on that track.
Oh man, I know. Yeah, they did it. Well, I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much. You know, for all the stories, and I know there's more. So I want to have you guys back. I want to have you back,
Thanks.
of course, after you get a season under your belt, and then see if you're still see how deep in you are. If you've bought a 100 by 100 building and you got it you got it jammed up or not.
Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you guys being here. Like I said, of course,
Thanks
we're
for
going to see
having
you
us.
on June 15th. I've been goating John Allen to get you over at Humboldt.
Yeah,
that'd
we
be
love
awesome
I've
get
been to
you over there
Humboldt
at the
twice.
quarter mile there. So
Yeah.
at the bull ring. Well, as we're going to sign off here on behalf of JR and Katie Sartain, GM John Allen, the Volunteer Army, and everyone with FOE Enterprises, I want to thank you very much for being a part of Above the Cushion. For Humboldt Speedway, 81 Speedway, don't forget practices going on this weekend. We're going to see you out for practice. You guys going to be here Saturday for practice?
We just might.
What do you think, Alan?
We just might.
Yeah, we might be here.
There you go.
Absolutely. Yep,
This
there you go.
weekend. I don't have anything planned this weekend. Yeah.
There you
swing
go.
by the pits and see the yellow 97.
Yep.
We'll get you signed up.
Grandstand's absolutely free for FOE Enterprises at Humboldt Speedway and 81 Speedway. So come out and see the vintage cars, taking a few laps with our stars and cars before we get the weekly racing going. March 30th, World of Outlaws is going to be right here at 81 Speedway for the sprint cars. We're going to start our point series that night. JLR Property Management 316 Modifieds and our TM Fencing LLC Super Stock's going to be in the house. So don't forget that one. Of course, we talked about Humboldt going to kick off King of America, the baddest modified race in all of the country, going to happen under the FOE banner over at Humboldt, April 4th through the 6th. So we hope you guys can make it over there. That is what we got going on. Appreciate everyone. Oh, Roger Barnett chimed in.
Yep. What
There he
say?
is.
Did he?
Said good job.
Oh,
He said good job.
Good.
Appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. Thank you for everyone who was listening, and we'll see you next Thursday night.
See ya.